Chapter 8. We thought Richard would be at his house, so that's where we went to look for him. For some reason, when we got there, the front door was slightly open. Henry and I looked at each other in confusion, but didn't say anything. I knocked on the door, then slowly pushed it all the way open. We walked in, and Henry closed the door. Richard was standing in the corner, facing the wall. We walked towards him slowly, and as we did, we heard him chanting words under his breath. "Are you okay?" I asked. My words startled him, and he yelled out as he turned around quickly. That ended up startling us in return, due to how quiet everything was prior. "Geez," Richard said. "Don't you guys knock?" "We did knock," I responded, "but you left the door open, so we decided to just check on you." "Dang, I really left the door open? Silly me," he chuckled. "I'm perfectly fine. This is just my thinking spot." "Really?" Henry asked. "I never knew that." "Well, that's because I like to have my secrets." "Anyways," I started saying, "we came here to ask you a question." "What question is that?" Richard asked. "We wanted to know if you were standing near the basement window yesterday, or if you saw anyone standing there." "That's really all you came here for? Why not just call to ask that?" "I don't know, actually." "Well, either way, I went to my house as soon as I left you guys, so it couldn't have been me standing there, and I couldn't have seen who it was either." "Maybe it really was the killer," Henry said, sounding worried. He sat down and covered his face with his hands. "Wait," Richard replied. "The killer was there watching you guys from the window?" "We don't know if he was," I responded. "It could have been anyone walking by. The person was only next to the window for a few seconds." "That's true," Henry said. He didn't sound as worried anymore after thinking about what I stated. "People always walk around the town." "Can't argue with that logic," Richard replied. "But we've all been stressed out these past few days. I say we watch a movie." Richard walked to his stairs. "I'll be right back," he said right before he walked up. Henry and I sat on the couch in silence as we waited for Richard to return. A few minutes went by before he came downstairs with 2 discs in his hand. "I've got the first movie and the new second movie." "Wait, how did you get the second one?" Henry asked in shock. He got up to get a closer look at the movie disc. I know a guy." "Of course you do." "The second movie to what?" I asked. "To that one movie we watched the night before the storm," Richard responded. "Do these movies have names?" "Of course they do," Richard chuckled. He then put the disc for the second movie on the counter and placed the other one into the DVD player. "Since Thomas hasn't really seen the first one yet, we will watch that one first." "I'm not that interested, so you can just watch the second movie." "Nah, man, you gotta watch it, or else you're gonna be confused and ask too many questions." "Fine." Richard hit play on the movie, then him and Henry sat down next to me. We all sat quietly as the movie started. The first 30 minutes of the movie went by, and I still was not interested in it. I had a few questions, but I knew if I asked them, it would bother Henry and Richard. I kept watching for another 10 minutes before I fell asleep. I woke up a few moments later, or at least I thought I did. I was alone, and there was literally no sound coming from inside the house, except for my own movements. I thought Richard was just playing a prank on me for falling asleep like he would do on occasions. So I went to look for him and Henry. I could not find them inside the house, so I decided to check outside. Once I walked outside, I saw that the sky was pitch black and the street lights were off. Even still, the town was illuminated somehow. That should have been a clear indication that I was just dreaming, but I was too focused on finding my brother and Richard. I walked around for several minutes, but I couldn't find them. I actually didn't see anyone at all, or hear any sounds aside from my own footsteps. I decided to stop and headed back to the house. When I turned around and saw a man standing at the end of the street staring at me, that's when I woke up. A loud knock at the door startled me, but I only hesitated to answer because I was comfortable. Richard and Henry were still asleep, though Richard was on the floor now instead of the couch. After about a minute, there was another knock at the door. That's when I finally decided to answer it. And standing there was Hector and Charlie. "Oh," Hector said. "Hey, Thomas." I waved at him and yawned. "Isn't this Richard's house?" he then asked. "Yeah," I responded. I pointed to the floor. "He's over there sleeping. You can come in." "Thank you," they both said as they walked past me. "So, did anyone know or see something about the murder?" I asked once I closed the door. "Only one person," Hector answered. "One of the neighbors across the street from the foreman's house, but he didn't see much. On the day of the storm, he said that he looked out the window and saw someone walking towards the foreman's house. He didn't think anything of it because he assumed it was one of the family members." "Did he give you a description of who he saw?" "No. He said he couldn't see the person that well with all the rain. It just looked like a shadowy figure." "Oh, okay. So now you've come to ask Richard about all this?" "Yeah." Hector looked down at Richard. "But since you're here, why not tell me about the video I had you look over?" I took the flash drive out of my pocket. "Henry and I did find something strange," I said as I handed the device to him. "Show me," Hector responded as he pulled a laptop out of his bag. He then walked over to the small table next to the chair and placed the laptop on it. Charlie and I walked over to the table too. As soon as Hector pulled up the video, Henry woke up, saw us, and came over to the table too. We watched the video and waited for the part of the video that had the windows shown. I paused the video once it did, and pointed out the shady figure standing there. "You see that?" I started saying. "It looks like someone might have been standing there watching us investigate." "Was it your friend over there?" Hector asked as he pointed to Richard, who was still sleeping on the floor. "We already asked him," Henry replied. "He said it wasn't him." "Well, if the person in the window is someone who is involved with the murder, then it's possible that there were two criminals that need to be caught." "Two?" "Yep." Hector played the video and let it get to the part where he was about to discover the bodies. He then slowed the video down to show us another shady figure walking, but this one was in the room with us. From the corner of the camera, you could see it seemed to be making its way towards the stairs before leaving the camera's view. After that, Hector turned the video off. "You guys seen that?" Hector asked. Henry and I both nodded. The killer could have been caught right there, but we missed him. "If it was the killer, why wouldn't he just attack us?" Henry asked. Hector waited a few seconds to respond, seemingly to think of a reason why the killer wouldn't do as such. 4 against 1, he probably didn't think the odds were in his favor, and revealing himself would definitely get him caught. "Didn't seem like he cared too much if he was there in the first place," Charlie said, sounding disappointed. "He probably was about to move the bodies to a better hiding spot," Hector replied. "Luckily, we got there before he could." Hector, Charlie, and Henry talked back and forth, but I didn't say anything. Henry seemed a little shooken up, but I was completely freaking out inside my head. I blocked out the conversation while thinking about the video. Seeing a strange person watch me from a window for a few seconds was one thing, but possibly being in a room with a dangerous killer without knowing about it sent shivers down my spine. At least the shady figure outside could have just been a passerby, or just an odd shadow of an object. But there definitely was another person in that basement with us. "Thanks again for looking through the footage for us," I heard Hector say as I tuned back into the conversation. "No problem," Henry responded. "But what do we do next?" "Well, I'm probably going to go back to the house with Charlie to look for more clues. And since we may have just seen the criminal return to the crime scene, I might set up a stakeout to see if he returns again. I'll stay in contact with you guys, and let you know if we need your help. Sounds like a good plan. Come on, Charlie. Let's go. Charlie nodded his head, then walked out of the house with Hector. Richard woke up right after Charlie and Hector left. I guess the sound of the door closing shut might have been what woke him. Did I miss the movie? He asked in disappointment. Yes, Henry responded, but it's not like you haven't seen it plenty of times before, and you can just replay it right now. You're right. But I think Thomas and I should head home now. All right. See you later. See ya. Henry left the house, and I followed after him. Walking through Windwasher after having that bad dream and seeing what I saw in the video made everything seem unsafe. I constantly felt that I was being watched. Every window seemed to have peering eyes. Each tree had a chance of someone hiding behind one of them, waiting to jump at me. I could not feel comfort walking in the town while knowing that someone dangerous could be watching me, or be right in front of me, and I might not notice. I looked over at Henry and started to wonder what he was thinking after seeing there was a mysterious person in the room with us. Coincidentally, after he came into my mind, he called my name. "Are you okay?" he asked. "You seem a little out of sorts." "I'm fine," I responded, just a tad bit worried. "How about you?" I'm not really sure if I'm being honest. I feel frightened, but at the same time, I still feel like everything is going to be okay like always. He ended his sentence in a cheery tone. Hearing that made me smile a little. I tried to let his positivity influence my outlook on the situation. The rest of the walk was silent. It seemed like it was becoming a common thing for neither of us to talk during our walks. We usually did not say much while walking outside anyways. We always listened to the birds chirp while taking in the gorgeous scenery. But now it seemed like a lot less was being said than usual. This made me think about the crime a lot more, because there wasn't another topic to distract me.